Greetings, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started. We still have lots of people that are joining, or maybe they signed up and aren't joining, but there's 27 of you, so thank you. It's fun to see lots of familiar names, so thanks for joining us. This is a webinar to go through and explain some of the configuration process. For those of you that are new, it's probably the most complicated part of TR, so it's kind of sad that it's the first thing you do, but it's just involved. It's pretty straightforward, but it does have lots of steps. So I am in the interview right now, so you should be able to see my screen. Oh, I guess just step back a couple things. My name is Mike Elings. I'm General Manager of Total Registration. On the webinar with me is Rod Rubel. He's our sales manager, and Rod is going to manage the questions, the Q&A. So you should see a Zoom toolbar. Mine kind of resides at the top of my screen, on my Zoom screen, and you'll see a Q&A tab. So if you have any questions, that is the place to submit them. Some of them Rod will answer directly in the Q&A. Others we will answer verbally during the webinar, and many of them we will answer at the end of the webinar. So the Q&A is the best way to ask your questions. We will have 60 plus participants, so I think opening everybody's mic would probably drive us all crazy. So, and I'll apologize for any squeakiness in my chair right off the bat, because it squeaks sometimes. But again, my name is Mike, and so we're in the configuration interview. For those of you that still need to configure, there's a link on your dashboard. I can't show you that in our demo school because we've already configured this, so I kind of cheated and rolled the configuration back to the beginning. But you'll see a link on your dashboard. You can click it and it will open right up. If you've started the configuration and haven't completed it, you'll see a link at the top of that configuration page to continue the interview. So you're always going to want to continue the interview until you get all the way to the end. You will know you're at the end when you get to the configuration check. So these are the steps of the interview. The configuration check will check all your settings and give you suggestions, and if there's any errors or warnings or suggestions and all that. So to get started, we just go down to the bottom and click Configure Interview. This first page is just informational. There's not anything for you to do on here, but we wanted to point out some important things. So at the top of many pages, up here in the upper right corner, you will see for many pages a question mark. And clicking on that will open up a help item associated with the page. So if you're struggling on the page a little bit, you may want to look at the help item. And then inline on the page, this is a little screenshot from our general info page, there are information bubbles. And if you put your mouse on one, it'll open up and give you more details about that particular line of information. And then really important, which most of you who have used this for a while know about this, you can get asked for help or support at any time by going up here and putting your mouse on help support and click request support, and that will submit a support request to Total Registration. That's by far the quickest way to get help. And then a couple more items that you'll see on many pages are some informational boxes. Blue are really just informational. They're always there. They're static messages. Yellow are also tend to be static messages. They're sort of things that you should watch out for, warnings, if you will, or suggestions. And then red boxes contain errors that need to be resolved. So in general, the red are things that you really need to pay attention to. Yellow are probably things that we recommend doing. So we'll go ahead and get started and click next. New this year, we've created a page that has suggestions from Total Registration. So we've been assisting schools since 2007, registered kids for 8 million exams. So over that time, we've learned a lot of best practices. So we have come up with some suggested settings. These settings are all based off of what we've learned and what the College Board's fees and deadlines are. So These are all the settings. You have a choice. You can use the settings or not use the settings. If you use the settings, which is what we'll do here in a second by clicking this button, is it's going to populate these values in your configuration on your configuration pages. You are not obligated to use those. So this is a good launching point. If you use it, it will save you time. But when you get to these things, for example, when you get to the end date, if you want a different end date, you'll be able to edit that on the page where you set the end date. So we recommend using the suggested settings. It fixes a lot of issues. So we're going to go ahead and do that. That's going to then drop us on the general info page. And this is where a lot of the major settings get set. And as you can see, pre-populated with the dates suggested in the suggested settings. So again, these are the info bubbles that will tell you things. Time zones actually set. If that's different, you set that up under where you edit the school, you'll set your time zone there. You will see a status bar, so you'll kind of know how close you're getting. You know, if there's still some left, you still have some of the interview left. An important note on the interview is in the configuration, we only show, you can only directly access the pages that you've already completed in the interview. So you can't skip ahead. That's very purposeful because a lot of the process is sequential. So things you set now will change other settings moving forward. So, and then another thing to note really quick is that all settings are editable later, so you can edit anything. Some settings are best probably not to edit after you started. It's like you really want to have your fee set right, because if you don't have that set right and people register and you change it, it's not going to change the fee for the people that have already registered. So we'll start going through the time zone. That's pretty obvious. The begin date is when you want kids to first be able to register. Students will not be able to register before that. And, you know, most schools start that sometime in the morning on some day. The end date is when the registration will be totally end and students will no longer be able to register. If you want to charge students a late fee, the late fee should start before the end date, because once the end date happens, kids will not be able to register. You will have to give them a special link to allow them to register, or you will have to change your end date. So the end date is the end. We recommend doing a week before the College Board's final order deadline. So our suggested setting is a week before the College Board's ordering deadline. Base exam fee is what a full price student, non-reduced fee student will pay. We recommend for schools doing TR payments, which to be honest is 95% of you, we recommend building in the payment processing costs into that. So that's why we have a suggested setting of 102. College Board's exam fee is now $98. They increased it a dollar this summer. So it's 98. So we recommend adding 4. You can do more. We have schools that do more. You can do less. We have schools that subsidize exams or give up that $9 that the College Board allows the schools to keep of the 98. So you're welcome to set it what you want, but we found using this amount tends to keep people in the black. An administration fee is a fee that is per student, not per exam. Base exam fees per exam. So if a kid has 2 exams, then they get 2 exam fees. The admin fee is once per student for the year. We recommend not using an admin fee and building any of your costs into your exam fee, because most of your costs are by exam, not by student. So we, you know, that whether that's proctor costs or, you know, fees for total registration, other things like that are usually per exam. You can set the grade level. What's the lowest number grade level? Now, one thing to note about this is if you have kids that test, some schools have a kid or 2 that might test from the middle school. Typically for languages, if you have that, then you might want to set that at a slightly lower grade level than you have in your school. Some schools don't allow anybody less than a 10th grader to take an AP. So that's up to you on what to set with that. We have reorganized this page a little bit. For those of you familiar, we are now putting it into groups. So there are some program options. So we've kind of grouped all those together. We recommend that you ask whether a student attends the school or not. So there will be students, this registration form is on the web and can be found by kids. So we recommend if you ask if they attend the school or not. If they say they do not attend, we will ask them to identify the school they do attend, and homeschool is an option. That way you'll know who these kids are. We also recommend that you wait list all non-attenders. So that's this other one. If we want to ask, skip down later down here, you can ask, it can ask if you want to wait list your non-attenders. But if you say no, then you won't be able to wait list non-attenders. This next question, would you like TR to distribute the join codes? In the past, we've required that. We still highly recommend that you have TR distribute the join codes. It does take a little bit of energy for you to either upload your join codes or enter them into TR, but it does save a lot of energy later. As a former teacher of 11 and a half years, I realized that myself and maybe some of my colleagues were not always super responsive about doing things in a timely manner. So having teachers distribute the join codes becomes problematic. If you have the system distribute them, all the kids will have all their join codes when they register, the ones for the courses they register for, and they will be able to join in the College Board. We actually will tell them how to do that. We'll give them the link and tell them what to do, give them the join codes they need. So we recommend doing that. Another option is if you are a school that requires all kids that are in courses to take the exam, you select yes to this. We ask if you have any second semester courses. These are not year-long courses that have a second semester component. These are courses that are only offered second semester. If you have that, you can check yes to this. You have the ability then to set up those exams now and waitlist anybody that registers for that course before the ordering deadline. Some schools want to hold those kids off so that they don't order the exams because there's a little bit of just nobody quite knows if College Board is going to charge you if somebody registers or orders early for second semester exam and cancels before the class even starts. It's not clear whether the College Board is going to charge you that cancellation fee. Right? We've kind of combed their material and that's not clear. So you could waitlist students. And then if you do waitlist students, you'll have a setting that will allow you to say at what point. Sorry, I think I'm telling you the wrong thing. This is the waitlist. I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong thing. This one allows you to only allow kids to register for a second semester course after some date. So if you don't want students to register for first semester and full year classes, you can select yes to this. Most schools will select no and allow kids to register for full year. Remember, you're going to set up your late fees later, so kids will get a late fee if they miss the if it's past your late fee date. So you don't have to worry about the late fees. The College Board will charge you if you set them up in TR. They will be assessed to kids. Most schools don't have an IB program. If you do, you select yes to this. You'll then input your IB exams. Kids will tell us which IB exams they're taking. That'll allow the system to calculate conflicts between AP and IB. Wait lists. You can allow kids to be put on a wait list after your registration closes. If they register, they won't actually be registered until they are approved. That's true of all these wait list options. We already briefly talked about wait list non-attenders. If you ask, you can, for whether kids attend or not, we can wait list non-attenders. This is a great way to control who's taking the exams at your school that are not your students. So we highly recommend doing that. New this year, you can waitlist all no teacher independent studies. So these are any ones that you set up essentially in the College Board. They would call these exam only sections. I don't quite like that term because if there's only exam, the kids are not really in this section. But independent study or no teacher, you can waitlist those kids so you have a little bit of control. This is really helpful for schools that have a lot of students that want to take the test that are not in the class and they're concerned about space constraints. Most schools will give preference to the kids that are taking the class and not the kids who just want to take a test. And then this last one was the one that I was talking about earlier by mistake. Do you want to waitlist anybody registers for a second semester exam before November 16th? Do you want to waitlist them and then they'll only be registered when you approve them? You can allow kids to make a couple requests after they register. One is allow them to request an alternate. If they do that, they will say why they want an alternate. That makes it really easy for you to move them to the alternate if you want. They will not be able to do that automatically on their own. They'd have to request that and you'd have to do that. And then you would also have to update them to the late testing in the College Board. We call it the alternate date just because the late date gets confused with late fees and all that. So we want to kind of keep those things separate. Would you like to allow students to request a teacher period update after registering? This is especially true for schools that have a lot of kids that change sections that semester, and they may want to update their teacher period. So you can allow kids to make that request. Again, this is something that you would have to approve. And then at the bottom, you could put in contacts. The first contact on there is listed in the directions. Other contacts are not, but if you have contacts for AP, you can put them in here. So this is one of the meatier pages. If you have any questions, please find the Q&A panel and you can type your question in there and Rod can try answering it or we can answer it later. There is a great question. Jennifer was asking if you can edit this. Everything is editable later, so you can edit every single thing. You can edit every single configuration parameter later. There's some parameters that are a little dangerous to change, like dates and fees, especially if you're increasing the fee. So those are things to think through ahead of time. So we're gonna cruise on to the next page here. The next one is the standard questions. If your school's used TR in the past, this is pre-filled with whatever you had last year. So you don't need to do much if you're an existing client. If you're new, you could check through. All the red ones are ones the system requires. And you can, on all the other questions, you can either set them to required, optional, or not on form. Not on form means they won't show. Another thing to note is here is we can ask students, these are students at your school, they say they attend, and they're going to register for a class and a teacher in a period that you have. You can ask them certain questions and you could ask non-students different questions. Since non-students are people that don't attend your school, there might be some additional information you wish to collect for them or some information you don't wish to collect. For example, student ID is probably something that you wouldn't really ask of a non-student because it doesn't really matter, but maybe for your students, you do want to do that. So these are things. Now, one word of caution here is less is more. So unless you really need something, we recommend not asking it. We do have some ones that we do recommend. So if you're first time, we will recommend that you ask for a first name and last name of a parent and their email, require an email. If we have those, then in communications that you do, you will be able to send emails to both students and parents. If you don't collect that, then of course we won't be able to email them. So those are the standard questions. The custom questions are, we have a big library of questions. Most people don't have a need for custom questions, but Some schools do. So for example, we had a school one year that made t-shirts for all their AP students. And so they wanted to know the t-shirt size. So they set up a custom question, they made it a drop down, they set up the different sizes, and they made it optional. I don't know why that's set that way, but you set up these settings. You can say whether there's validation, you set up all these save, and then that question will show on your registration form. So you have a lot of options. There are different kinds of questions. You can do multiple choice, yes, no. And so they're going to have to pick one of the answers, or you can do check boxes. Those are ones where they can choose more than one choice, or obviously short answer, which they just type in their response. So those are some options with that. Moving on to that, if you have custom questions that were set up in the past and you don't want to use them, all you have to do is make them inactive. So clicking on an icon over here will make things active and inactive. So if you want to turn off a custom question, all you have to do is make it inactive, and then students will not see that question. This page allows you to put your questions in order. Some of these questions that will show in here at times are ones that are automatically asked by the system and won't show on the student info page, but you can order your questions by dragging them. Like, let's say I wanted to put the phone number here, I just drag it, and then you go down and click next. So it's pretty simple. There are multiple pages. There's the student page, there's the parent information page. Again, I don't know, most schools probably aren't going to ask all these things, but and then there are financial questions. So we did make a change this year to move the free reduced lunch, financial assistance, the special waiver that schools having STEM use sometimes. All those questions in regards to financial situations are now moved to a new page on the registration site. And you can order those however you want. Fee calculations. This is kind of a big one. The base fee was what you set on your general info page. You can edit it here, but please note that edits it everywhere if you want to change that. Most schools, we'll go through all these different calculation types. Most schools will use a simple multiplier. So most schools, one exam is 102, 2 exams is 204, 3 exams is 306. It's just a multiplied by the number. Some schools will have some other things. Some schools will offer discounts based off of number exams. Like, for example, we have schools that the first exam is free and the second and third cost. So if that's what your school does, you click this and then you say, in this case, this school has the first exam costs full price, but then the second exam has a $19 discount. The third exam has a $19 discount. So that's fees vary by the number of exams. If you don't know about that, then you probably aren't doing that. Another choice is fees vary by exam. This is common. We have some states that offer kids a reduced fee or no fee for a STEM exam. So if you say fees vary by exam, then on the manage exams page, which we will get to shortly, you will set whether that exam has a higher price. Now, some of you have research and seminar. If you do that, if you have research and seminar, you're probably going to want to do fees vary by exam and set the price higher for research and seminar, because College Board charges you more for those. So that's how you would do that. If you're a school that has fees vary by the number of exams and you need to charge a higher price for research and seminar, please send a ticket to total registration to support, and we will help you with that. So you can just come up here and submit a request, and then we will help you set that up. And then we have some things about some different kinds of waivers that happen. The first is free or reduced lunch. This is what the College Board calls people that are qualified low income. We do have a new option this year that we ask if your school is part of the community eligibility provision. Schools that are on that, every student in the school is receiving a free lunch. And so the problem with that is you haven't, schools that do that don't actually vet the kids ahead of time. So they don't have a list of knowing who's actually qualified, because based off of the percentage of kids that are qualified, everybody's getting a free lunch. Getting a free lunch in this program does not mean you get a reduced exam fee. The kids still have to be vetted. And so we ask if they're, if your school CEP, if you say yes, we will add an additional question on the student's registration site that's going to have them indicate why they are eligible. So, you know, is it because of their family's income? Is it because the kid's in foster care, homeless? Is it because they get food stamps? All those kind of things. Their College Board set some criteria that would qualify students. So those are all shown there. Some schools have a very FR fee that varies by the number of exams. Most do not, but if you do that, it's kind of like up above, you set those. You know, again, look at these info bubbles because it'll explain things when you're looking at these later. If you have TR process payments, and again, that's the vast majority of the schools, you will have to put them in the approval queue. So you will not be able to choose one of these options. If you're one of the few schools that take payments at school, then you have some different options there. This is the price that free reduced lunch kids will pay. We suggest, you know, the College Board says it's $53, but then there's payment processing associated with that if you do that. So we'd suggest maybe $2 or $3 higher than what the College Board says to cover the cost of the payment processing. Otherwise, the school is covering the cost for to process the College Board's money. So you do have the ability to customize the question that they see, make sure that it still reflects the intent of this. But basically, if they answer yes, then they would get they would be held pending for approval. And if you approve them, then they're going to get this fee here. So you can change that question. Some people, private schools don't necessarily use free reduced lunch, but you could say, do you qualify for a reduced fee according to the College Board's criteria or something like that, and then hold those kids pending. Financial assistance, we treat this different than free or reduced lunch. For free or reduced lunch, the College Board, if the kids are qualified, they're going to charge you a lesser fee. Some schools, however, want to give some kids that maybe that are not free or reduced lunch some financial assistance. And so you use the financial assistance question for that. Again, you can customize the text. So that's the financial assistance. And this last one we call the special waiver. If you have some weird criteria that's hard to identify and you don't want to automatically give kids a discount, that's best done here. A lot of schools use this for STEM. So they ask, are you taking a STEM? We have schools that offer no fee for the first STEM exam and then do charge for the second STEM exam. So that's a tricky thing to do. So they use this question. If you do this, you get a different kind of approval process when you approve a kid, and it allows you to really micromanage per exam. What are you waiving? We're waiving this for biology, this for physics, this for US history, whatever. You can totally control that, both the special waiver and financial assistance and FR. You get to manage that, micromanage that all. It's not for the faint of heart, so I don't recommend doing it if you don't need to, but if you need to, it is great because you can get kids set up for the right fee from the get-go, and it greatly reduces any refunds and things like that that need to be offered. So we suggest using that if you really need to. Again, send us a ticket at support if you have any particular questions about very odd fee calculations. Most of you have pretty simple ones. Some schools have some more complicated ones. Again, if you have any questions, you can ask them in the Q&A panel, and I see Rod's been answering some of those, and we will, if there's big ones, we will save to the end. Late fees. So the College Board is going to charge you a late fee for anybody who you order after November 15th. We recommend beginning the College Board late fee prior to that time. We recommend doing it a week ahead of time. This gives you time to get everybody registered so that you have time to do reconciliation through total registration, to reconcile the payments with the exams, to check with teachers, make sure whether the kid really wants to take the exam or not, all those things before you order. After you order, remember there's fees from the College Board, either a late order fee or a cancellation fee if you cancel exam after November 15th. So we recommend starting a late fee before the College Board late fee, a smaller late fee. I don't know if what your experience is, but in our experience, most of your little angels will wait until the very end to do this. So we recommend starting a late fee to get the vast majority of the people to register before this date. And it's a minor late fee. This is cool because if kids get it, it's the school's money. You can help use it to offset costs. We recommend doing a smaller late fee. So we recommend the College Board late fee a week before the College Board late fee, and then the smaller late fee a week before that. Again, these were pre-filled by using the suggested settings here. And another important thing to note is that there's two sections. So these are the late fees for full year first semester courses, and these are the late fees for second semester courses. So because of the College Board's early ordering deadline in November, they have different rules for those tests and when those things happen. So that's why we have two separate categories here. If you said you don't have any second semester classes, you won't see the second section. But we strongly believe in late fees. As a former teacher, as a parent, most families have learned that deadlines at schools aren't really deadlines. And the problem with AP is the College Board's deadline is a hard and fast deadline, and they will start charging you fees. So it's not something that's flexible. So in order to get around that they believe that late fees are negotiable, or that deadlines are negotiable, we recommend using a late fee. Late fees aren't as common in schools, but people are familiar with them in other walks of life, and people will rush to beat the late fee date. We will find that 90% of the students will register before the first late fee date. Not way before. They're going to register on November 2nd or November 1st. Half your kids will register on November 2nd or 1st. So we strongly encourage the use of late fees to motivate people. Payment processing, there's two options: no online payments, total registrations payments. Most schools do have total registration process of payments. Remember, if you have us process payments, the cost for payment processing is 4% of what the student pays, which is why we recommended increasing the exam fee for $4. If you do TR payments, you got a few options. You can choose. You don't really have a lot of options on the payments. The kids can pay online with a debit or credit card, or by mail with a check or money order. We have some people that really are worried about giving the mail option. 99.9% of the payments are made online. It's not very many kids. We have schools every last year, I don't want to do it. And then they did do it last year and they had nobody pay by mail. So it's really not a big deal. Paying by mail is not a big deal. So we recommend, so that's not something that you can do away with, because if you have a family that cannot pay online or is unwilling to pay online, they need to do that. So those are some of the options. Laura, the text for the options on the payment is not configurable. It is set by the system. The next section is if you're doing TR payments, we're going to mail you a check for the payments we collect. So we we need to know where that check's going to be sent to and how often. 90% of our schools, more than 90% of our schools, have us send one check at the end. We recommend doing that. We found that when we send people monthly checks, they don't deposit them all anyways. They sit on them. Some of them send them all the way to the end. You can, if you check one check, we will send it the end of May. We send it the Friday. For one check, we send it. We will process payments and refunds through the Friday of the alternate exams, and we begin processing checks immediately after that. So schools will receive their check before they have to pay their College Board invoice. If you select monthly checks, we send a check. When September comes, we'll send a check for the payments that we processed in August. We do that by the second Tuesday of the month. Usually it's much earlier than that, but we reserve the right to do it to the second Tuesday of the month. You'll tell us who to send it to, whose attention to send it to. We'll have an email address. We send emails when we send checks, and this is new this year, that person's email, because we can also include them in that email that we send so that they know to be on the lookout for the check. If you do TR payments, you have the option of allowing partial payments. This is good for schools that want to allow kids to pay a deposit. We would recommend that if you do that, you do a minimum per exam of at least $42. That will cover the College Board's cancellation fee. And then if you had to refund a kid, it will also cover the 4% processing fee that was charged at the time the student paid for the $40. So you don't have to do partial payments. Most schools don't do partial payments and just require kids to pay in full, but that's up to you. You have ability to customize this question. Please be very, very careful if you customize this question to not change the intent. The intent is right now that if they answer yes, they are not going to pay the full amount and they are going to get charged an additional fee of $275. That fee is passed directly on to the student. Usually we do not pass the processing fees on to the student. You build that into your exam fee cost, but the partial payment fee is charged to the family directly. So that's not anything that involves the school with that. And that money goes to total registration. You do have payment deadlines. These are just for informational purposes. You put these in, that's what we're going to show the students. It turns out that we're not going to actually do anything after that deadline. So if a kid still owes, they'll still owe. We're not going to, delete their account or anything like that. So you have the ability to put that in. It's kind of good because it gets people motivated to pay in a timely manner. So that's what those are. We will we'll pre-fill those if you use our TR settings based off of what we've learned. Scholarships, most people don't do that, but if you want to allow families to contribute, make a donation to scholarship, you can say yes. That would put it into that would be added into their fees, and so when they make a payment, they'll pay the fees and the donation. It's held separate in TR, but when we send you your check, your donations would be in that check, and how you use those donations is up to you. We don't have a tool to determine how those are used, but that's up to the school on that. And this last one, we won't need to talk about that last one. Refund policy, again, these are done in line with sort of the College Boards. We think that people should give you a little warning when they're canceling. So we would start the cancellation fee. We would start charging a cancellation fee before your order, because you don't want people canceling like the day that you're ordering, or you may not want to try to order the last day that the College Board allows because maybe there's tech issues, maybe your internet's down, whatever. You probably don't want to wait till that last day. So we recommend doing a late fee or a cancellation fee earlier. So you have a date through which a kid can get a full refund, and then you have a date which a kid can get a partial refund, and you have control over those dates and the amount of the cancellation fee when it's a partial refund. Again, two policies, one for the first semester full year exams and one for the second semester exams. So same idea, but only for the classes you do second semester. Most schools have just a couple classes second semester, unless you're on block scheduling like college, and then you have all your classes are first semester or second semester, not year long. So this is probably a bigger deal to them, but you have control of the refund policy. This is one of the ones that we suggest not changing after you get kids registering, unless you're going to make it more lenient. But we would say not to make this, I wouldn't make this stronger after kids started, because the kids are going to agree to this refund policy before they can submit their payment. So we recommend doing that because they will have seen this. Directions, we will pre-fill directions for your site based off of some things we know. So you can edit these things. One important thing to know, everything that has this format here is a merge code. So this is going to get your end date from what you configured earlier. This timeline here contains everything that's date related, when your registration begins, when a late fee begins, refund policy, all that stuff. That we recommend that you use that. In the past, this is new, the timeline is new in there. We recommend doing this because it's very transparent, and when you aren't transparent, it causes difficulties with families. So we recommend transparency. This puts it all in. They're going to see it right there before they even register for anything. And so we recommend that you keep that in there. You could hand type those, but the nice thing about the timeline is if you were to go and change anything, this is dynamic. So anytime a kid accesses the page, it's calculating the timeline from your current settings, not from settings from a month ago, unless your current settings are the same as a month ago. We recommend doing that. But you have the ability to edit all this. We recommend that you kind of leave the join codes the same. If you don't like the values that are showing up here, then you need to click these links and go edit your settings, because this is these are the things that you set. So you'll have to go to those pages to change the settings. You can change them in the text, but it isn't going to change what you have set. The system is going to function by what you have set, not by what you hand typed in the directions. So just be warned about that. Confirmation page. We've got some text for kids that are paying by mail and different text for those who are paying online. Usually those are paying online. If they're paying online, they're going to pay at the time they register. So the directions are quite a bit different. If kids are choosing to pay later, pay by mail, they will have they'll get a payment stub to mail their payment. They can always log in. Anybody who chooses to pay by mail does have the ability to log in and pay that balance online. And it tells them that on their payment stub: save time, save the stamp, pay online. And then the last couple things are just the information they'll receive if they visit the site before it's open or after it's closed. Some schools have documents that they want to be able to give the students. So the best thing to do is to turn your document into a PDF, and you can go and say, yes, I want an additional document. You can go and choose that file. So you click the choose file, and it's going to go and find a file on your computer. You're going to type in the text that the kids will see. For that first one, we called it sample upload. You're going to type that. And then you're going to click next, and it's going to upload that. And then those will be attached to the confirmation PDF that the family receives at the end of the registration. And they'll be able to download those. There's links on the homepage of your registration site to download those documents. They also will be able to receive them and download them at the end of the registration process. At the very last page, when they're all done, they can download those documents. You can also put in your policies. We've kind of put in some default policies based off of what the College Board says. You can edit that to your heart's content. You can actually have this be attached as a PDF to the confirmation if you want, or it will just show on a link the AP policies. So we do recommend setting that. The College Board has a lot of particular things about pencils and calculators and phones and all those good things. Teachers. So there's a few things that you're going to set up in order to set up your exams, but when in total registration, the way a student picks their particular section, the class they're in, is they're going to choose the exam, they're going to choose the teacher, and they're going to choose their period. So my son just started, I got his schedule. I know that first period, he has Spanish with Mr. Delgado, and so I know all those things. So that's how we specify things. One thing to know about this Add Manage Teachers is this is a library of all your teachers. You may not be using all these teachers in any given year. So what I would do is put in all the teachers that you're using this year. But let's say next year, there's a teacher who's not teaching AP this year, but they might teach it next year. Leave them on here. You don't need to delete them. Just leave them on there. So you're going to add your teachers. If you want to add a teacher, you're going to put in their first name, last name, and email. And then click save. If you want to add 4 teachers, you can go and put in 4 boxes and add 4 teachers. You also have the ability to mass upload teachers. If you have them in a CSV file, you can upload those. For most schools, it's just easier to type them in. Then at the bottom of this page, you can send teachers an activation email. So one thing that's kind of cool, the teachers can have a total registration login, and their login is very limited. It's not like yours. They can see their rosters of their exams. They can't edit anything. They can't approve anybody. They can see that. They can see the timeline for your registration. But it allows teachers to kind of verify and encourage kids who are not registering to do that. So if this teacher is pending, they have not activated their account. So when you send this activation email down here, it's going to go to everybody that's pending. It's not going to email people that already have a login. So you can send that. It will go to everybody that's pending. We have a bunch of made up people, and we're always testing things. So there's a lot of people in here that are not active, but active people will be able to log in. If they're pending, it will not hurt anything for the registration. Kids will still be able to register. They'll still be able to pick their exam, their teacher, and their period. It's not going to change anything. It's just the teacher will not be able to log into TR. You have the ability to send teachers emails. Those will still work even if they're not activated. So that's not a major concern unless you have teachers that want to do the login. Somebody asked, teachers can see rosters in College Board. Teachers can see the rosters. They can see the kids who are signed up for the course, but they don't necessarily know who's registered and paid for the exam. So we do recommend that they look at the rosters in TR. We also have the ability to email teachers their rosters, which I don't think you have the ability to do that in the College Board. I don't think you can send anything from the College Board, actually. So total registration has a lot of communication tools that are associated with all these things. So that's the teachers. The next thing is to set up your periods. This is very similar to teachers. This is the library of your periods. If you have second semester or first semester courses, we recommend that you set up period 1 for full year classes, period 1 for semester 1, period 1 for semester 2. Because the semester 2 you're going to mark them as beginning after November 16th, and that's how the system's going to know to apply the late fees. We recommend in your schedule that you use like our examples and do like your bell schedule. Like the unfortunate thing is the College Board has asked you for a section name. I taught for 11 and a half years, and I never saw a section name for anything I taught. We had some section IDs, which nobody knew, right? So nobody knew the section ID. I could look it up in the school information system, but it wasn't really public information. So using a section name kind of confuses people. So we recommend using the actual period. Like I said, I know my kid first period has Spanish, with Mr. Delgado. I know that. I know that. I see that. We've talked about it. So use the periods as your section names in the College Board. If you haven't done that already, use the period names. We recommend that you do not let the teachers set up their section names. If you do that, you're going to have like 15 different naming conventions. They will all do different things. So we recommend that the coordinator set those sections up in the College Board. But those are your periods. For most of you that are using us, you've already got these set up and you're good. If you had crazy section names for your period names in TR in the past, you can fix those if you want. You should do that before you configure your exams if you're going to do that. So now we're going to configure an exam. So let's go ahead and just look at biology. So if you're a past TR client and you haven't configured yet, there'll be a button here to copy your exams from last year. You just copy them, and it's going to input them all in there. Let's say you do that, and let's say I just did a copy and we're not offering Chinese this year. I can make that test inactive by clicking on the active column. Once it's inactive, kids will no longer be able to register for that. So if you do copy exams and some were inactive from last year and you are offering them this year, you're going to want to make them active. You're also going to want to make sure, like if you send us a ticket, say the kids aren't able to see this course, that's one of the first things we're going to look for. So you can check here and see if it's active. So I'm going to make that back active again. These times up here, we recommend putting in the times you want students to report to the exam. So the College Board specifies that the exam must begin between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. local time, but you may want the kids to come at 7:40. Come to the test, put away their stuff, get organized, get stuff distributed so that you can start that test at 8 a.m. Because if it goes long, it might become a problem with the afternoon exam. On the flip side, you may want your kids to come a little later to the afternoon exam, because if kids have 2 exams in a day, you might want to allow them a little chance to get some nourishment and make sure that everybody's kind of done before the next test starts. I mean, because some days it's tight if the kids have 2 exams in the same day. Spanish language is a problem. Spanish language seems to always go long. So, and you can customize this time on any exam. So if we go and look at an exam, edit an exam, we'll see that you can set up periods and you can set up rooms for each exam period, like the regular exams or the alternate exams. You don't have to do that now. You're not going to probably do that until spring. You can set up proctors. You won't do that to the spring, right? Here's where you can set the time, like both the regular and alternate admin or afternoon exams. In this case, you could set them to be at a different time than 12. That would be the report time. You have the option to have fees vary by exam. This is that option we talked about, fees vary by exam. If you select that, you have to tell us which exams have a different price. So you will put in your price, in the class or 102, students not in the class, maybe we're going to charge them 112. Maybe the kids that are non-students, we're going to charge them 122 because we're trying to discourage non-students from taking them, or we're subsidizing proctor costs out of other things, and we want those people to pay their fair share. So we can do all those. You can do all those kind of things, right? And then the FR would be the kids you approve for FR. What are they going to pay? You will set up your teachers. You will choose a teacher from the library. So let's say I want to add a teacher. I go and I'm going to pick one of the teachers that I had set up in my library. So I'm going to choose the teacher, and then I'm going to set up what periods that teacher teaches, right? So let's say they're period 5 and period 4. So that, and then I'm going to put in the joint code. You don't have to put in the joint code right now, even if you're having TR distribute them, because you can upload those joint codes into TR in a future step. But if you want to type it in or paste it in, you can do that. If you ever want to just add a teacher later and you don't need to upload all your joint codes, you could just put in the joint code there. So I'm going to delete that row. I don't want to add any more teachers to this already bloated test. No teacher independent study. Some schools will put both of those. I mean, we automatically add a no teacher option to kids that say they aren't attenders, because obviously if they do not attend your school, then they don't have a teacher. So, but you can decide whether you want no teacher independent study. Both of these equate to an exam only section. So you put in the join code, you'd have to create an exam only section in the College Board and put in the join code here. And then add an exam, it's very similar. If you don't have an exam on your list after you copy them and you want to add an exam, we've got all the exams configured except for pre-calculus, which is new this year. You choose the exam, you just set all the things that you want. Again, you don't have to have a location and a proctor at the beginning, and you set the teacher and the period, and you're all done. If you copy the exams from last year, you will have to edit each exam, because when we copy the exam, teachers may have changed, and we do not bring across periods because in our experience, the periods greatly change. So you will have to put in the periods, and you may need to change the teachers. So just click down every exam and edit. It'll say when you copy them, it's going to say needs review. If it says needs review, it hasn't been edited yet. You won't be able to go on until they've all been reviewed. But it is a lot faster to copy them from last year than to add them all independently. After you add an exam, you can't copy. So if you want to copy them, make sure you copy them first before you add any new exams. Add your new ones later. This page is called the cheat sheet. All this is showing is what you configured in TR. And if you configure TR first before you do your stuff in the College Board, then this is what you would name your sections. If you do this when you import your joint codes into TR, they'll all match up really well. If you use different section names, you're going to have to do some matching. If we go, we've already uploaded some files, so I'm going to use the old file. But so here are some ones that don't quite match. So you're going to have to match them up with something. Once you match them, you can check the box and you can update, and then those will be saved. These are exams that are in TR but don't have any sections in the College Board. So these are things that will have to have sections added to the College Board. And then here's all the ones that are all matched up. So if you name your sections the same as your periods in TR, your periods in TR, if you name your sections in the College Board the same thing, then these will all pretty much match up and you won't have a lot to do with that. The last step of the configuration is the configuration check, which is going to go through and say what you need to do. In this case, we set that we wanted the fees to vary by exam, I think on the fee calculations page. So after I've done the configuration interview, I can now access all the pages individually. You can't, once you complete the configuration, you can't access the interview anymore, but you can access each of the individual pages. So fee calculations, that was what our error was, because we don't actually have any exams that we're charging a higher price for, or a different price or lower price. So we're going to change that. And now we're going to go back and run the configuration check. And we probably should have no errors now. So now we have congratulations, no errors. We do have some suggestions. You can read through these. These are not errors. They don't have to be changed. You are welcome to look at them at look at these things, and you can change them or not. Some of them are, the notices are just sort of like reminding you something. There's probably nothing that needs to change. If you want us to do payments, you're going to get the notice that you're having total registration to do payments. We just want people to understand the costs so that people aren't thinking that that's free, because it's not, so. And then in this case, where we're telling you that you didn't charge a higher price for research and seminars, so you may want to do that. Some schools don't. They eat the extra costs, but most schools do pass it on. Again, the timeline. Now, one thing different on this timeline, we do in line put the College Boards. When this timeline shows the students, it does not show the red. The red ones do not show. Those are informational for you, not for the student. We don't want them to know if you're charging a late fee before the College Board late fee. We don't want to make that a big deal, right? I recommend doing that because you need time to get your order straight before you can order, because the College Board's late fee starts on the 15th. the end of the 15th. Eastern time, by the way. If you're in Pacific time, it starts earlier for you. So just keep that. Then you can just see all these things. You can see all your settings. You'll see join codes. Things will appear red if there's a problem. You know, this school has IB, so it's got IB and all that. So, and that's pretty much it. We already done this, but you will have to do a test mode registration at some point. You can scroll down here, click this to a test mode. Test mode is easy to remove. It will show on your dashboard if there are any test modes. Then we don't have any right now, but there will be a link down here at the bottom to remove test modes. So they're easy to delete if you've done a test mode. So sorry, that was kind of long and fast, but hopefully that helped. I go ahead and post any questions that you may have. If you're crunched from time and you need to bail, we certainly understand. If you have any questions, please post them here and we'll answer them. I see that Carl Palmer asked, is there a way to send join codes to teachers through TR? They can see their join codes. They can see join codes from in their TR login, but I don't think we have a way to mail them. So, and then TS, I don't know, what is the College Board charging for research and seminar? What are they charging you this year? I mean, whatever they're charging you, I would do that, and I would bump, you know, whatever 4% is. I mean, it's probably, I would add $6 to whatever the College Board says they're charging for research and seminar. Ashley asked, what if she's waiting on a teacher for the teacher audit? They're not approved and it's just one hanging it up to finish. They can't configure without that. What you can do, Ashley, is you could configure that section in TR that you know is going to happen eventually and put in C teacher for the join code. And then that would allow you to complete in TR, move forward, and then the teacher could do it. And then when you do have the join code, then you would be able to. Any other questions? There's a lot there with the configuration. Don't forget about those information bubbles and the question mark in the right-hand corner. Our help desk has lots of answers to the common questions. People like to call those canned answers. They're not so canned. I mean, they've been developed over 15 years of answering questions all day long. So we know what people ask. We know what, we know how to respond to those. So they're in there. So, you could, if you look in there, you can self-serve and get a lot of things answered. It has a pretty good search, so you can type in some words and find things. So let's see. Other questions? Leander, I saw yours. We'll get you started and send you an activation email. So you'll get a link to activate your login. Other questions? Got Rod and I both on here, so please put your questions in. We'll hang out here for a little while. We'd love to answer any questions you have. If you're not finding the Q&A, it's there's a toolbar for Zoom. It's up in the toolbar, and mine's above. I think sometimes it's on the side, but mine's up above. It's kind of a black thing. You kind of have to put your mouse on it to open it. You'll see the Q&A up there. Do remember the configuration. You can always change things after the fact. If you want to change something while you're in the configuration interview, you have to go back to the main configuration page and use the direct link. You can't push yourself back in the interview. So if you wanted to change something, the pages you've completed will show on that configuration page. Let's see, I go back to that configuration page. The pages that we've completed will show on here. If I haven't completed, you'll have a link up here to continue your interview, and you'll be missing some of these links. You know, if their last page is AP policy, you won't see these other pages until you continue forward in the interview. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. And again, any questions, please go to support.totalregistration.net and submit a request, or click the help and support button up in the toolbar when you're logged into totalregistration.net. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.